as we go into the third lockdown, which we seem to be going across the globe, the public perception of COVID is changing. You know, we're seeing things like into Frido. I have to come to you. I mean, if there's one thing we think of as Hollanders and the Netherlands, it's the same part of Europe. What's with the riots going on in your cities, sir? I mean, seriously. I mean, I know it stopped quite quickly, and that wasn't just one city. That was across the Netherlands. And if that happens in the Netherlands, then, you know, God help us all, let me tell you. But how can we get out of this stop, go cycle? Where can we find, you know, even if it is in waves, at the moment it's open, close, open, close, open, close, which as Nevena says, you know, it affects your trust. So how can we build an ongoing, long-term strategic process which allows us to manage that? Let's come to you, Frido, because I'd be really interesting to hear about what happened in Holland and how that impacted on your own perception of yourself, because I think it was a bit of a shock to a lot of people, isn't it?
It was a massive shock for a lot of people, definitely in the Netherlands. I think how can we prepare, or I guess the real question is, how can we prevent further lockdowns? And the answer there is very context specific. Why did the Wuhan province, where the whole thing originated from, why were they able to actually go back to normal within a year? Because they were able to institute a very serious lockdown, which was not met by massive protest and people throwing stones at the police, as we did in the Netherlands. Are we able to do a lockdown like that in the Netherlands? No, we won't be able to, because culturally we wouldn't accept that. Epidemics have a tendency to come in waves. Look at your average cholera, look at your average meningitis, measles. They come in waves. We know that's epidemiologically. I don't have the answer why that is, but that's simply what is the case. In the COVID situation, because the virus is aerosol, the only way to counter that at this moment is by lockdowns, until we get vaccines in order, treatment in order, and testing in order. Vaccines alone is not going to do it. Right now, and particularly for the medium term, we need to get our testing in order. We need to have rapid tests. You want to enter a shop, you do a rapid test. You come out of the shop, you do a rapid test. You want to go to a stadium, you do a rapid test. You want to go to school, you do a rapid test. 10 tests a day. And only that way will you be able to immediately isolate.
Which, of course, is how they dealt with Ebola, wasn't it? Because I was in Africa, and you went into, you'd be in a building, and at the front of the building, at the reception, at the lifts, at the third floor, and at the executive's office.
Yeah.
There'd be somebody there sort of putting, the temperature thing on.
And wash your hands. You use the chlorine. And I know that in resource low poor settings, this is very, very complicated to do the testing, to do the hygiene measures, to do all of that. So are we going to be able to forgo the lockdowns? No, I don't think we'll be able to forgo them completely. But there's definitely ways that we can improve on that still. Treatment, the last of the three pillars, I think still has a long way to go. Although the vaccines will have implications for the treatment, because apparently, what I understand from the research is that the vaccinations will limit the severeness of the disease. So therefore, treatment is not necessarily going to be the big answer, although it still is part of the solution. But we're genuinely, as human beings, apart from the fact that human beings are a pandemic in itself, if you look at our global growth. But let me take the example, how odd ever it may sound. There is currently a large container ship blocking the Suez Canal. And it's going to take days, if not weeks, to deblock, to get that ship off the banks. That is going to massively upset global logistics. I mean, we're going to be confronted with, something not in our shops in Western and in East and in South and wherever you are, because of the Suez Canal being blocked. I'm willing to guarantee you that within 25 years from now, there will be a second Suez Canal, because we realize how important that canal is. So in 5 years from now, somebody's going to say, maybe we should build a second one. And in 10 years from now, somebody's going to say, now we have the money. And then it takes 10 years to build it. So in 25 years, we'll probably, that doesn't add up. But anyway, you catch what I'm trying to say. we're Nevena, you're completely right. We're slow at learning, but we do learn.
The question is, Frido, why the hell didn't they build it before the damn thing got blocked? Why didn't they say it could get blocked and we will build it? But we will.
It costs money. It costs money. That's there's one answer. It costs money, David. That's the only answer there is.
No, you're absolutely right. It's good. Okay, can we try and keep the questions short and punchy so we can get through as many as possible? Excellent points. Eula, let's come to you.
Sorry, that was about how to finish how do we get out of the lockdown cycle, right?
I don't interrupt you, but I'm going to interrupt you. I want to come back to Frido because I just remembered something I forgot. Frido, you said three things, which was vaccines, testing, and treatment.
Yeah.
And of course, the fourth thing has to be and human behavior. Because what we've seen is as soon as people are released out, they go nuts. So you get 500,000 people on the beach and you get everybody going to the bar. So the fact that you have that, you still have to have COVID-aware human behavior. And so far, we haven't seen much of that. It seems to be that as soon as we come out of COVID, as soon as it's released, there's this bomb blast out. That's the point I was thinking about. That fourth part is the human behavior.
Completely right. I was looking at it from the health perspective, from the social part. That's indeed true. I mean, in Holland we have a perfect answer, which is throw stones at the police. That seems to answer everything.
Yeah. Well, let's see how that one works out. Right, Eula, let's come to you. Sorry about that.
Sorry, just to clarify, it's about the how to end the lockdown cycle, right? That's okay. So I definitely echo the points of Frido. The vaccine rollout is going to be very important. I would add, for example, also addressing disinformation. I think it's extremely important that everybody so we democratize knowledge and we democratize good knowledge. That's very important. And the reason why we're not on the same boat when it comes to different approaches to vaccine rollout. So, for example, in my country, there's a lot of distrust in vaccine because it tends to be politicized as well. Like people are saying, and also people tend to also be biased towards the efficiency rate. So, for example, if one vaccine is only 50% effective, they're going to say, yeah, immediately this is actually not good. But actually, I think that can be unpacked more because while it is 50 or 60%, it still removes people from the possibility of going to the hospitals. At least that's what the doctors are telling me as far as the conversation is concerned. So addressing this information is very important. And the third thing that I really would like to also put on the table is the concept of continuity. So we already know that we will go through lockdowns. If we're going to go through another lockdown, does that mean that we also have to stop kids from learning? Does that also mean we have to stop e-commerce from happening? I mean, there are alternative ways that we can think of. So, for example, a lot of course, it's something that not everybody could adapt, right? But at the very least, certain entrepreneurs are already pivoting and they're thinking, okay, maybe we could actually do e-commerce. Of course, it's not going to bring their revenue up to the same level as 2019, for example, but it's some relief and there's some level of continuity as well. I think for me, at least because I come from education and research field, it's very important that we think of alternative ways to provide education and for learning to continue despite the lockdowns. Whether it's going to be virtual or not virtual, that's also something to discuss, because obviously not everybody has access to virtual learning possibilities, right? But continuity is the third thing that I think we should be thinking about, not just lockdown for the sake of lockdown, right?
There's 2 points. I mean, of course, the whole purpose of lockdown was not to get rid of COVID. It was to push the problem down the road, the flattening the sombrero, that phrase. But the whole purpose of COVID was just to say, well, let's get through winter and get through pandemic flu, and then we'll come back to COVID and talk about it later. It was never designed to take it away. And of course, to come back to education, Eula, pre-COVID, the word was disruptive. Everything was disruptive. Airbnb and Uber and Deliveroo was disruptive. And we never saw disruption in the education system. It was basically pretty much 19th century, pretty much the same, both at schools and at universities. I think we're going to see some serious disruption within that sector and many other sectors as well. Nevena, let's come to you.
Well, I agree that the education of the society is the key factor. Starting from the vaccines, it's really counterproductive when you have two eminent health experts, national one, and one of them is saying one of them is for vaccines and other is against the vaccines. And they're both eminent experts, and they're both in mass media. And every ordinary individual will be confused. Or, for example, when you have two different types of vaccines that are made on a similar platform, and when it comes to a new type of coronavirus, one company said that it is something that is good enough for the new type of coronavirus, and the other one said it isn't. So it's really confusing. There is a lack of transparency, and there is a lack of precise information, and that's the reason why there is a huge distrust among the population. Of course, another problem is consistency in application of the measures. You can't. I'm sorry, but you can't one day open one huge shopping mall and then tomorrow say you criticize the people that were in that shopping mall, and you are the one who opened it at that moment. It's really, really contradictory, and you can't blame later the population for their acting. Of course, the one of the key problems is not paying due attention to the psychological aspect of the crisis. We have a major problem with the youth, with the younger population. We have a rising trend of suicides among the children because of the depression caused by the whole this COVID crisis situation. At the national level, in the Republic of Serbia, in the past few days, we have, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 cases of that. There are a lot of aspects of the crisis that are not prioritized enough. There is a problem with the prioritization. It's not just about the health. It is about the health, but it's obviously about only about the COVID positive patients. We have problem with different patients, with different health institutions. When it comes to COVID-19, when you put almost all of health capacities and resources in a function of fight against the COVID-19, where are those doctors and nurses that will treat another patients that also have some serious illnesses? I'm talking just about our national and regional level. There, of course, there are bright examples. There are exceptions. We had great examples in the first phase of response to COVID-19 crisis. For example, in the Republic of Serbia, it was the city of Šabac. But in general speaking, I don't want to be pessimist, and I don't want to criticize the government and the national response, but those are the facts. When you try to analyze the so far response to COVID-19 crisis, those are the key conclusions that you get.
So, I mean, the thing about it is with education, there are, a child now of 10 years old has missed 4 years, has missed 1 year. That's 25% of their education that they've missed. They've been in lockdown for 10% of their lives. And I have no doubt that there are children of 8, 9, 10 years old now who in 70 years time, when their great-grandchildren say, Granny, Granddad, tell me about the year the world closed down in 2020, they say, you know what? Changed my life. I would have had a different life if it hadn't been for that. It seems to me there's a global responsibility to that generation, which I do not be seeing being fulfilled. We haven't spoken about mental health, which I think is an incredibly deep-rooted and significant issue.